bud. How's the end of the world going for you?
It's what the one of the lads said the other day. It's like it's death by Sundays. It's the longest Sunday ever. You're at home when it's raining, and the kids are pulling lumps out of each other. It's Sunday. It's just Sunday after Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. We're stuck in a kind of Groundhog Day of Sundays, where well, the funniest thing is that the English are soon going to be ripping up pages of the Bible so they can wipe their arses.
It's so weird. It's
Everyone else has
weird.
loads of toilet paper.
Yeah, our mutual friend Keith was saying that his wife is pregnant, went to the shop last week, whatever, and was asked did she want some of the under-the-counter toilet roll. Like, that's kind of level it is.
You serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Who would have thought the apocalypse would be so boring?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It's like...
Well,
it's just...
I say boring, but it's like boring... but also the most fear-inducing, panic-inducing, freaky thing that's ever happened to depending on what tweet you've last read.
Yeah, which conspiracy theory you choose to go with, etc., etc. I mean, I have noticed, just kind of putting on my journalist hat. I've noticed that there's not much news being reported. And there's not... I don't know if there has been, but I presume people have been called and just been told, look, calm it down a bit. you know?
Because I was like, when you go into... See, I don't really know how accurate my kind of outlook is, because I've never looked at news up until, a week ago. And I haven't really been on Twitter. But I know, when I say get up in the morning, I'm trying to... torture myself by finding how the apocalypse is going, and I'll go to RTE News, which for people who don't know, RTE is like the national news, like it's the government-owned kind of...
The Irish BBC.
Yeah, only, not as good. And and it's like, there's no, you see both on Twitter and on, say, the RTE feed itself, it's like maybe one news posts today, and then the next one, 2 days ago, Jim said that we're all fucked. And you kind of go, all right, so there definitely doesn't seem to be from where but I mean, I'm sure the news is on 6 times a day on RTE.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's still on telly, but it's just that from how to say it. So up until the time that these lockdowns started, there was just tons of news and new information coming out the whole time. And it seems to have, not stopped, but it seems to have... No, I mean, it sounds all conspiratorial. I'm not being conspiratorial. It's that there just seems to be...
Well, I mean, conspiracy in that there's a conspiracy to calm things out of it.
Well, yeah,
conspiracy doesn't necessarily mean that aliens, reptiles...
But see, the thing is as well is that, we had this... I remember us having a... excuse me. A debate in college about this. And it was about how media should report on things like suicides and on, this Irish... It's a big thing in Ireland, these murder-suicide things. Where usually the husband kills the wife and family and then kills himself, right? Happens a lot in Ireland. And as well, and when it happens in Ireland, it tends to happen after it's already happened. So someone does one in Cork, for example, 2 weeks later happens in Wexford, and then it happens in Galway, then it happens in Dublin. And then nothing happens for 6 months. And then it happens again. And
that's because it's all been contained and that people are in lockdown.
No, but they say that they have to have a responsibility on how it's reported. Because if it's reported in a sensationalized way, then it does give other psychopaths this kind of I'll fucking do the same. I fucking hate my fucking kids, man. Fucking, And it definitely does. Definitely does. There's a...
Well, it was the thing you were saying, and I don't know if we actually said it in the podcast or we said it after or something, but we were talking about that there was no real kind of fist fights in shops in Ireland over pasta, whatever. And you're saying, oh, actually,
No, there was, yeah.
I know there was, but it's not reported because then it's... If you report it and you're told that 10 people have done that around the country, then it's easier for the 11th person to do it because it's normalised.
That's it, man. That's exactly it,
And it's the same, I suppose, when you have the kind of the massacres in America or the school shootings and stuff, and it's instantly, Steve did this, he was an outsider, his parents hated him, they're all, and you kind of go, well, don't tell us about Steve at all.
Yeah.
Because then the next person, because they all seem to want this kind of glory or to get their not all of them. Like it's more complicated and all that. But there seems to be an element of it where they're trying to get back or trying to either get famous or all of these type of different kind of things. And if you just call it, shooter X, then all of that goes away.
Scumbag kills people.
Yeah. Well, so what is the excuse? Not the excuse. What is the reason why that isn't done then? Why does the name always get out? Why is it that we do sensationalize
well,
these things?
It would be just because. See, it's something that we know but always forget and dismiss, and it's that we all know the media is business. It's not about providing free and useful information. That's what Wikipedia is, and Wikipedia has many, many faults.
Sure. Yeah.
But so that's what it is. So by giving this scumbag in it, let's say Sky News names him and BBC doesn't. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're just a casual newsreader and you come across the thing, you're probably more likely to hit the one with the name because then it's personified.
Right.
It's the psychology of it. Then his name. It's like remember we were talking about. I told you I don't want to know who Banksy is, but most people do.
Yeah.
Most people do. You see,
Yeah,
but see, I don't because I'm more into the art. I'm not into the art. He's just a graffiti artist. Well, he is an art. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you get me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why. But it would be the same in Ireland with the stuff, the murder suicides, because like Ireland's so small that like I don't know any murder victims, but I know, I've known plenty of like suicides that have been written about and stuff, and Ireland's very small, and I think it's hard for people to realize from outside, like, okay, it's a small country, you don't all know each other. No, we don't, but like we're only 2 or 3 steps away usually from each other.
Yeah, we're definitely Kevin Bacon to everyone in the whole country.
So
and
it
is hard to express to people just the size of the population in Ireland. Like it's half the size of the population of London. You know what I mean? A quarter of New York or whatever. So I don't know exactly what to think, but it's like a tiny population.
Tiny population, such a big island,
Yeah.
Mad.
Well, we had 8 million, and then there was that thing with the spuds, and that was the end of that.
Do you know, there's something about that as well. The famine was such a psychological trauma on Ireland. Like, I don't know how this works. You'd have to go Carl Jung on this kind of stuff. You might know more about this than you would know more about this than me. That was such a traumatic event for, like, not only the people of Ireland, but the generations that came after. Like, even up to us. I left. I ran away from Ireland,
Yeah,
you didn't.
Yeah.
You're hardcore. No. You stayed. But like
hardcore, lazy.
But like there was a similar famine in Finland a couple of years, something around the same time as the big Irish potato famine.
Yeah.
And their population came back pretty quickly. Ours has never come back. Has never come back. And like economists pretty much are all in agreement that, like, right, for Ireland to be like totally self-sufficient, like we need about 6 to 8 million people, and Ireland's never had that since then.
Yeah.
And so thank God for like the Polish people who are repopulating Ireland.
And it's another thing, I suppose, that because there's like so many more houses in Ireland than there obviously was 100 years ago and stuff like that. But that's because like there was 10 people in each house up until very recently. So you kind of have this illusion of a blossoming or a population burst, but it's not. It's like bigger houses for less people. So you had like my mum grew up in a house in a mountain, like walk school, no bare feet, all of these things. But it was a main room and then 2, like cupboard-sized bedrooms, and there was 11 of them. You know what I mean? And then, but it was like fine, because that's what it was. There wasn't. I need my space. That just wasn't a question of ever having your space.
It's where the thing of the banshee comes from. Was it telling you about this?
I'm not sure. Tell me anyway.
The banshee is a funny one because in certain parts of Ireland, if you hear the banshee wailing at night, then it means that someone in your family is going to die or you're going to die. But then in other parts of Ireland, they say it only applies to people of a certain surname. I don't remember what it is. Say Nolan's
it's
and
Max
Murphy's.
Kelly's O's. That's the surname.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah. It was someone on the Late Late Show said that.
Okay.
I know it was stuck in my head. Irish names. Murphy's.
And Murphy's probably, surely. Yeah. We're doomed anyway. and if you ever find a hairbrush or a comb on the street, that's hers because she was
Yeah.
there that night, the night before, brushing her hair, just like what I'm doing now, the big baldy head on me. And what was the
The
other
only
thing
way
about
to
it?
get out of the brush was that if you catch her, you could throw the brush back at her, and that's one way to ward off death.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know
that's-
that one now. See, if
yeah,
you pick
yeah.
it up and throw it back at her, and throw it
Yeah, but
away,
I-
like.
No, she has to be there at the same time. It's not if you find it the next morning. It's like if she's wailing outside your window, you have to go out, get a brush thrown at you, and then pick it up, throw it back, and I'll go, here, missus. No thanks.
You're like fucking, what's her name in Game of Thrones? What do you say to death? Not today, or something like that. You don't watch it, so it doesn't matter.
Well.
The other thing, so the Banshee, they reckon it comes from so the parents could have sex. And
Oh, right, okay.
Irish ladies could scream their fucking heads off.
That's awesome.
And then the next morning, the kids are like, what was all the noise last night? That was a ghost. That was the ghost of death. Don't talk about her. Oh, okay. Traumatized
brilliant.
Irish people.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
that's why they weren't having babies. There we go. Solved it, Tommy.
Yeah, that's it.
The power of brain.
It's an interesting thing that you do say the Banshee, because I was just talking about my mum living in this small house up in
I
mountain.
hope she doesn't
It's
hear
because-
that. Speaking of banshees.
No, but they had whatever, like it was an odd kind of thing. They had this sort of record player, or a record player arrived, and I don't know how, it was like one of the old wind-up ones, whatever. But they had like 2 records, and one of them was like obviously just some music, normal, but the other one was called the Banshee. And they put on the record, and it was literally someone going, "The Banshee is coming," and then the Banshee would wail in the background. But it was like it used to terrify them, but it was like to put it on all the time.
That's mad. That's deadly, though. That's deadly. I think I presume like much of our generation and even the generation before have kind of lost that a bit, because like I know that like. I remember being young and like my granddad in particular telling me tons of ghost stories, tons and tons and tons. I don't have as many as that. Like, but then again, I suppose he grew up in a time when people still had shanachis going around to houses, and that was the entertainment. There wasn't really there were pubs, but if you lived in the countryside, it was just like once a week. Johnny would come around and tell stories. That was your entertainment, and then another night maybe you'd meet up and play music or mad.
But it is
Mad
like
times.
it's kind of like the Shanachie thing's a bit mad. Like just basically someone comes around and lies to you, and then you pay him.
Hey, you pay him in food and beer. Entertain me, Jester. I suppose that's kind of what it's like, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I suppose you can still kind of see it with people. Some people have that kind of, as we call it here, the gift of the gab type thing or whatever. It's something that we don't have. But I wonder, like, it is true though that we don't have the ghost stories that we once had. Like my mum definitely has had an awful lot more kind of weird stuff happen to her than I have, and I can only imagine then that my son's probably going to have a bit less, because there seems to be that kind of disenchantment of that kind of stuff, and you can, from a rationalist, materialist point of view, you can look at it, go, oh, we become more rational and we don't believe the stuff. But even if that's true, I think we're missing out a wee bit, because I like that. I like the I like thinking that the world is full of fairies and mischief and leprechauns and ghosts and all that, and like it's a more interesting world for me than. But I know you have people who say like Brian Cox and Dawkins and stuff like that, and go, well, you're missing the point. The world is wonderful. It's just wonderful, or the universe is wonderful. It's just wonderful in a different way than that, and you're kind of. You're not appreciating just how amazing it is. You don't need the elves, the ghosts, all of these things. But I don't know. Can we have both? Why not both?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should have both, because like whether it's a Celtic myth story of Fionn McCool or if it's one of Aesop's fables, or if it's a Bible story, they're all just archetypes that teach you what you're supposed to teach. I mean, I remember fucking teachers reading this Aesop fables and whatever, and you learn nothing from it. Just like, stupid fox wanted grapes. What an idiot. Do you know? And you're like, and you come back to it years later and you're like, I get it. So they're kind of wasted on young people.
Well, they're wasted only because they're not explained. It's just like you're just kind of take it as a story. Go, that's a nice story. It's like the ugly duckling story, and you go, oh, I am a swan, and you go, yeah. Do you know what that's about? Yeah, it's just duck that thought he was a swan. I was like, no, but yes.
Yeah, but I like all that stuff from the archetypal standpoint of, okay, so this teaches something about so, or the people who made up these stories were trying to tell something to people about how to live their lives or whatever, you know. And I wonder as well, like in a few thousand years, will the Bible just be looked at like that? It's like, because I mean, I don't know, will Christianity survive for another 2 or 3,000 years? God, who knows?
It's hard to know. It's hard to know. The other thing, just to bring it round to a bit more magic, is that another reason why there could be less ghost stories and kind of stuff like that is the introduction of electricity into the world, and how that has the idea that has an impact on the spirit world or whatever, that it's widened the veil between, that it's easier years ago because we didn't have this kind of network of basically electricity running around everywhere, and you know that it has somehow affected the whole thing, which is an interesting kind of concept. Like,
it's brighter.
Well, it's definitely brighter. Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking up because I was looking up some like astrophotography stuff, because like, well, I like landscape photography, like astrophotography is the fucking bee's knees, man. I love that shit. But like, it's very hard to find where I'm living, even though I'm living beside the mountains. There's not many. You can get some maps. I don't even remember what they're called. Look them up yourselves. Darkskies.net or something like that.
Okay.
That and you can see all the light pollution for where you're living. And like, even where I am, even beside the mountains, it's not great. Although where my parents-in-law live now, it's just clear skies the whole time. But it's better than Ireland because the weather is so much better.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next time I'm down there, like, I'm gonna fucking get up at 2 a.m. and walk up a hill and fight off bears with wolves.
As long,
like, I'm going to have the wolves fighting the bears.
2 meters away from the wolf. That's all right. You know, at all times. Make sure not to touch your face. And wash your hands. I'll tell you one thing about this apocalypse that I've really learned is that how do people need to be told how to wash their hands? Like, what is that about? Like,
well, are you doing the whole like doctor thing with the fists and the thing in the middle of your hand? Are you doing all that?
No. But,
and you're making faces. People have to be taught of the.
No, but I mean, there's a hell of a difference between washing your hands to go and do an operation on the inside of someone and wash your hands. Or you see, it showed like the one video I've seen where someone just kind of went, tiny bit of soap went 2 seconds. It was like on 3 fingers, and I definitely do the whole hand. You know,
there's one. I think he's an artist. He has put on some white gloves, and he put a tiny bit of black paint. And he demonstrates how to get the black paint like everywhere, and that's how you should wash your hands. And it's like, oh shit,
probably like
that's not what I was doing,
or something. Yeah, yeah. That's an interesting one because any of those kind of ones where it shows you where you're completely missing, like between your fingers, or at the joint of your wrist and stuff, seems to be a place where we miss it an awful lot. But yeah, it's an interesting one. This apocalypse in Ireland. For the most part, people are doing the social distancing. Like I was had to post some artwork this morning to different people, including yourselves, bud.
Thank you.
Everyone is definitely walking out of everyone's way. You know, if there's someone on the side of the street, to go the other side of the street, or if, you know, to go out. No, but here's the thing I've noticed: people have stopped saying hello to each other, and it's very, very odd. It's almost as if they're going, well, this has to be a bit more a solemn occasion. It's almost like you're constantly behind a hearse, you know, the way no one really wants to talk. Apart from the family, because like funerals can be quite funny, and we have this kind of black humor, and like walking behind the hearse. I remember my grandmother died, and my uncle, he's in Egypt, but we were behind the hearse, and we just, you know, everyone's quite serious. We're about to go to the graveyard, and he just turns around to me and go, "Jeez, I'm dying for a piss, but I don't think it'd look good." But anyway, the whole thing walking down the street feels like, you know, and so you say hello to someone, and it's almost as if you go, "Oh no, you shouldn't say hello. You know, this is solemn occasion. You know, we have to keep this very solemn." And I kind of go, "Well, that's not nice." You know, and there's this suspicion of like this kind of heightened stranger danger thing going on. A suspicion. I don't know him. I don't know him. He could be a zombie. But of course, at the weekend, every beach was full. Yeah. Every forest was full. Like, what is, you know? Like, I don't know.
I don't know if I should admit to this, but fuck it. You know me by now. Like, there was you know me fairly well, Tommy. I can usually see the humor in something when there shouldn't be any humor at all. But there were reports of now, this is a shit thing, all right? This isn't funny. But in about 3 months' time, it's going to be really funny looking back on it, all right?
Right, okay.
So there was a queue of old people outside a pharmacy somewhere in Dublin, and there was a group of teenagers running up to them and playing tag and just touching them on the elbow and going, ha ha, gotcha, Corvin-19, and then running away. I mean, it's not nice, but you laugh, so I get away with it.
Well, it's funny in the like it is kind of, unless you've seen it, unless or one of them died or that. It's just, I understand the humor in it, but it's hard to know. It's like that thing about saying hello. It's hard to know what you're allowed to find funny, or it's because no one knows what's kind of going on. And it's like, I remember people saying after, maybe it was a stand-up comedian or someone, I can't remember, but someone I was watching and he was saying that after 9/11, that it would took months and months of knowing what was acceptable. Like, you'd be kind of going, you're sitting and watching the telly or watching sitcom and laugh and go, oh, should I do that? Has enough time kind of passed and I'm allowed to laugh at Ross being in Egypt or whatever it is, or enjoying drinks or whatever these things. It's a weird kind of time that it's like to know. Like if that, like as you say, in 3 months that will be funny, but it's only funny if 4 billion of us don't die yet. You know what I mean? Like, we all died, and it's not funny at all. It's like, that's how we all died,
Being chased by teenagers as we queued for our medicine.
There's people, same in Slane, there's reports coming up. A friend of mine was saying that there's a gang of youths hanging around shops, coughing on people and stuff like that. And I mean, I understand, I was a 15-year-old myself once, a long time ago, and I understand why they think that's funny. But that could terrify kind of, if you're like a 70-year-old woman with diabetes and 1 foot, I mean, that's going to definitely terrify you.
And a parrot on your shoulder.
Yeah. And a bag of pieces of 8 and stuff like that.
No. It's a scummy thing to do. But if you watch, the way I see it is that if it was in a comedy sketch, you'd laugh at it. If it was Harry Enfield do it, you'd laugh.
Yeah.
But because it's real life and it's Dublin scumbags in their Adidas tracksuits, then it's not nasty.
But it kind of, I suppose, the whole knowing when to laugh and when to take it serious is this. In the UK, where they were kind of initially, when Boris, the fucking twat, came out and goes, "Oh, we should just take this in the chin," and World War II, when Dunkirk and all of this kind of stuff. That equally,
Boris, you lost at Dunkirk. You lost. Your arses were handed to you.
But like this kind of thing of go to the pub and stand up to the the coronavirus, and like this, that you got all the memes of the Shaun of the Dead where it's let's just go to the Winchester and have a nice pint in the Loudborough, to the point that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost had to make a new video saying don't do this. Because like in the film Shaun of the Dead, it doesn't work out for them. That was the wrong move. But it's this kind of thing of I'll go to the pub, I'll stand up to the coronavirus, and you go, well, no, that's not how this works. And I understand a mentality behind it of trying to, not give in to the oppressor, but not in this case, not giving in to the oppressor, unless, of course, we believe any of these number of conspiracies that we don't talk about. Not giving in to the oppressor is staying at fucking home. Like someone said that they need the Samuel L. Jackson to do, his just go to fucking sleep. Stay the fucking home.
Brilliant. I saw something else about, he was talking about the spirit of the Blitz. Maybe it wasn't Boris Johnson, it was someone English anyway. And then someone Irish had commented under, yeah, the spirit of the Blitz, where you all hid like rats in tunnels.
Yeah. It's like, it's romanticising trauma of the highest, and thinking, oh yeah, it'll be grand.
It's ridiculous. But
did you say? Sorry.
The way Aga's all clued into psychology is one of her kind of topics or hobbies that she likes, and she listens to and watches a good few like Polish psychologists talk about this thing, and they reckon that when something like this starts, as we've been through, you just kind of brush it off with a bit of humor, and you don't worry about it. And then the panic sets in, or the worry sets in, and you react. So most people reacted by doing their little bit of panic shopping, and now everyone's okay again. But once the process starts of you accepting it, the psychologists in these videos have said that it's 2 weeks. It's going to take you 2 weeks to really wrap your head around this.
Oh, right.
And I haven't gone 2 weeks yet. I'm 2 weeks on Wednesday. So I have.
Oh, right, okay.
We did our lockdown a couple of days earlier than suggested by the
Right.
government because it's just the schools rang around and says, look, if you can keep your kids at home, keep your kids at home.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we did our own kind of thing before the pubs and schools were asked to close, and then then the schools was the day after, and then I think 2 days after that, then the restaurants and the pubs closed. So yeah, it'll be 2 weeks on Wednesday. It's bizarre, like, to think about. It's really weird. Like I'm trying to do that thing that they talk about in the reality transurfing book about observing yourself and not getting too involved in stuff, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's hard not to, but as well he says in it that, like, if you feel yourself getting dragged into it, like, just fucking go for it. Do you know, like, if
Right,
you're going to
okay,
get
yeah.
angry, like it's like, you know, try not to get angry in a situation, but if you get angry, just go for it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
which is great, and just let the energy kind of
Dissipate.
wear itself out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, since then, like, I've just been like, but anyway, you're locked inside anyway, so you have to just let go of stuff. You know, you can't. You just have to say, right, this is what it is. Here I am. Be all right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Do
and
you know?
I mean, I think most of my fear, anyway, and I have to assume I'm not, unique in this, is not, I'm not really scared that I'm going to die, the people around me go to die. Every now and again, I get a kind of a sense of that, going, oh, well, fuck, that could happen. You know, when someone puts up a Facebook post, friend of mine, and I know why he did it, but it's like going, you have to remember that if your child gets this, that they will be locked in a room, you won't be allowed near them, they're going to, die on their own, and then you won't even be allowed to put them in a coffin. You won't all, and like, I mean, you go, that's all probably true. And people, if they're going to beaches and forests, need to hear all that
Look,
as well.
no,
But at the same time, it's like
only one child on the planet has died from it so far. You know what I mean?
I know, and he's a paramedic, and he knows, like,
It's awful.
But it's just because he's having a reaction to people not taking seriously, because in the place where he lives, the kids aren't taking it seriously. But like, that's what I'm saying, it's when you see something like that, then you get a wee panic about, the actual death. But the most thing I'm panicking about is and it's not even a panic, it's a concern about inconvenience. You know, that my life is going to be inconvenienced, they're going to be changed in a way. It's like that. I don't like new things. Can we stop having new things? But it's because I think all the new things are going to be bad. You know, like, I do like change. I like positive change. I don't feel it happens enough to kind of. So that's it's that kind of, and that feeds into, this is the thing, here's the segue, that feeds into conspiracy and stuff like that. And because you start looking for, I suppose, other things, than going on, you're kind of distracting yourself from different things. And then when you hear that not only have you to worry about, your children, your parents, yourself, everyone dying, and all of that kind of thing, you also have to worry about, this is a psyop, and it's really, you have to fear digital currencies, and you have to fear, in a European army, and you have to fear, the elites, and you have to fear new draconian measures, and they're going to take all your location data and all of this stuff, and you kind of go, so, like, and it's interesting because both sides are saying, don't give in to the fear by sending out emails or something, like the David Icke thing. Don't give in to the fear of the video we were watching that we both regretted instantly. It's like, don't give in to fear, but then give you a list of everything you should be afraid of.
Everything you should be afraid of.
But don't be afraid of that, because that's what they want. You don't do that.
It's absolutely crazy, isn't it? Like, I totally get conspiracy theories, because we're all we all want answers, you know?
Yeah.
And as well, it gives us, especially in times, like these weird times, but like in most times, like we all think we're kind of in control of our lives, but we're not really, because like you could get hit by a bus at any moment, you know, even
exactly. Yeah.
Like, it's even possible the bus could get off the road and smash through your front door. Like, it does happen. Yeah. It's rare, but
or
it does
you
happen.
Literally can just stop walking, and die. That happens.
And like, so, we all want this kind of element of control in our lives, or at least that we, not that we control the outer world, but that we know what's happening in the world. And once we know, then it does give ourselves a sense of control, not over it, but that there is control in general.
Yeah.
And so this is just conspiracy theories anyway, because you see, all right, well, that happened because that happened because that happened because that happened, and that makes sense, and it makes you feel better, because you're like, oh, well, I mean, my life is terrible, and I hate my job and my life and my wife and my kids, but like, At least I'm not Tom Hanks, who drinks like the blood of dead cats or the livers of
children.
babies, or what is it?
It's, adrenochrome, which
Adrenochrome.
is which Hillary Clinton makes from scaring children and taking their blood, and it's all done in Wuhan. Is that how you pronounce that? That's where the epicenter. Yeah. So this is where the factory was that makes adrenochrome, and that's why all these elites now are getting coronavirus, because they got coronavirus infected blood from scared children. Hillary Clinton. Something. Australia
cheese
seems to be
pizzas, isn't it?
connected.
Australia cheese pizzas are part of it as well.
Well, that's the Pizzagate stuff. But that's oh man, that's a whole. People get very, very upset on both sides about that whole Pizzagate thing, and it's just like I'm not getting into it. It's not worth the hassle at all. People are so both sides. The vitriol is anyway. But it's like so it's the adrenochrome thing. I find that. Like, that's interesting because Tom Hanks came up very, very early in this, and I've seen him being kind of pointed out on conspiracy places as you know, I don't know, some sort of elite thing. Did you see the Madonna video by any chance? Is that the most ridiculous thing I've ever? It's Madonna po-faced in a kind of a white milky bath with flowers. There's a harpist or a harp being played somehow in the background, and she's just kind of sitting there going, "Oh, we're all the same. We're all equal now." And going, what? Greg Newkirk put up a tweet that he had to delete because he said something. This is either this is really disturbing, and people thought he was talking about how actually Madonna. He's going, no, it's the idea of Madonna sitting in the bath telling us we're all equal while a harp plays in the background. And just going, this is just like what's going on. But yeah, they seem to have it out for Tom Hanks, Oprah. Clintons you can understand because by all accounts they're terrible people.
Oh yeah, they're awful humans.
They're awful people. Like so, like fine, but it's just I don't know. And there's also this kind of thing I think with conspiracy. Apart from the entertainment, I definitely love the entertainment.
The entertainment is fun, yeah, for sure,
definitely. But more than that, there is every now and again you kind of go, well, it can't just be like this, Like it's in a sense that we don't want to accept that life is it's more than the control, but the life might be a bit boring or uninteresting, or I'm not special, or it's just that. So can like you say the control thing, you can kind of go, well, if there is something going on, then there's some form of control. But if it is just as it's presented, then it's totally out of control because Trump really doesn't have a clue what he's on about. Boris is a fucking Egypt. All of these people don't have a notion, and so it is an actual pandemic. It's not, 10 reptiles in a room going, pretend there's a pandemic and we'll get we'll get them all to close the borders, that'll end the racism thing, a single world government, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, what's the one of the Grant Morrison, it was a Frankie Boyle podcast, and Grant Morrison was the guest on it. And Frankie Boyle asked him something like, what's going on in the world? And Grant Morrison's answer was great because he's like, no one has a fucking clue, no one has any idea because I don't remember who would have been the president then because it's a good few years ago. Who was before Trump? Obama. Who's before Obama? Bush. Yeah, it must have been Bush. And he's like, Bush is just a man. He's just a man, just like our man. That's all. Like they don't know. They pretend they know and they think they know, but they don't know, just like me and you. They're just men like me and you, and no one has any idea what's going on, and we all think that the other guy knows, and no one knows.
Yeah.
And it's like, there you go. That's going to be my argument now forevermore about these kind of things, because like, I don't think anybody knows at all, really,
Alan
and even
like,
like,
kind of
and even like,
sorry,
even like, the way that like George Soros is like the target man for like.
Sure,
the worst of the worst stuff. Like, I don't know, man. Like, if you actually spend any time looking into what George Soros does and the money that he gives to people and the stuff that he helps, like he seems pretty decent. Like,
yeah, you're going to regret saying that on the internet.
but like Rupert Murdoch doesn't come in for half the shit that George Soros does, and he's like he's the representation of Satan on this planet. He's the worst, probably one of the worst humans who's ever lived, Rupert Murdoch.
Yeah.
Soros is a pretty charitable kind of fella who has lefty leanings, and I don't think he's.
So why do you
bad.
think? Why then? Because I don't. haven't really paid enough attention other than I know the meme of it. But like, why does he get the flack more than Rupert? Is that just
just
because
must be the.
is it better managed? Like, is it because your man is more in charge of, he owns every newspaper
Well, it's probably an element of that, but it's probably an element of him being a right winger as well, because they're just louder.
right?
Okay. They
Yeah.
are they're louder with their hate than us lefty wusses who are like, yeah, just love everyone, man. We're all part of the one living thing anyway. Just experiencing ourselves in many different ways. Everything's groovy, dude. While the right wingers are like, give me more guns.
Other right wing views are available. It's an odd one. Like, I don't like the other thing, I suppose, as well, which is this that people love conspiracies, is because it gives. Right, hold on. I have to put a caveat in with this. It gives people something to blame about their shitty lives, right? Now, there's plenty to blame outside forces about shitty lives, and poverty definitely could be helped, and there's so much that could be done. But I don't think the vast majority of people really care about the homeless in the way they say they care about the homeless. And it's more they're angry about their own lives and stuff like that, and it seems to be that vitriol is aimed, or that want of conspiracy is so that it's someone else's fault, it's not, which is, again, that's understandable. It's if you're in a situation that's terrible and there's no way out, you're going to blame someone, and an awful lot of these things, it is other people's faults too. So I don't know. I mean, that's why it's so confusing, because there's elements that are both good or bad of the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, it is someone else's fault, but also you can't blame everyone for everything that's wrong with your life.
Like during the big refugee crisis there in Europe a couple of years ago, I remember there was a story about a man who ended up in Spain, and he was selling these like big pens on the street. Right. And it turned out that he was like a sports scientist or sports psychologist or something. He ended up getting a job with one of the Spanish La Liga football teams. And it was just, and I was reading an interview with him, and he was just like, no, like, it's terrible that I had to leave Syria with the war, but like, I had to just keep going. I had to keep pushing myself and to always try and find the bit of hope, And so this is my kind of thing with the conspiracies. Like, it's very easy to sit there and be the incel and hate on everything and just blame everything, but it's like, fucking clean your room, bucko. Really, like, you can't, like, look, you can blame stuff. Of course you can. But you still have to pull yourself up by the fucking bootstraps and say, right, I have to get myself out of this because this is bollocks.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, this is well, like my thing with conspiracies is that, I love the entertainment of them. I do it. I watch far too many videos of them, read far too many fucking things of them. But the thing with me is that, right, like, if this is real, doesn't make any difference to me. And I have a video coming out today or tomorrow, and where I speak about the David Icke one in particular, and it's that, like, the only difference is really making in my life is that petrol's very cheap now.
But
so cheap. Like, but the only thing is I can't really use it. I can't, because I'm stuck at home. So like, buy a second car and fill that with petrol to get your value. But like, there's nothing else really. None of anything, like the Tom Hanks thing, the Madonna thing, the fucking New World Order. Like, if there's one currency for the whole world, that's great for me. It means I don't have to. Here's the thing.
I want to talk about this one currency, because this is seen as that this is one of the things that's going to come out of this psyop that is not a pandemic. That it's to get this at least a European digital currency. And it's like going. So there's two things going through my mind. One, this pandemic, right, could have been largely not avoided, but could have been better handled had we had things in place. So let's have things in place, like, let's get rid of paper money, because most people don't use it, and it fucking just breeds disease. And so I could see that. But also, but if you don't have paper money, then you can't do cash in hand. It takes a kind of a control away more to the government and stuff like that. But like, you kind of go, you can't say, let's never have a pandemic like this again, but also don't do anything at all to change it, because we like the way it is exactly. It's like going, I can see, like, digital currency, I very, very seldom ever have cash anymore, ever. It's all kind of
me too,
card, all of that kind of, to the point that if I do get cash, I kind of leave it in my wallet, because I don't know what to do with it. You know what? I might need that. It's like a different. Also, it seems like because it's not as useful because if you've like 20 quid in your hand, you can't buy anything off Amazon. You know, you can't buy anything off the internet. You can literally only buy something in Super Value or Tesco's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
I don't know. Someone for hand jobs.
Or drugs. You know, all of these
drugs,
things.
yeah.
Tesco's, drugs, or hand jobs. That's literally all cash is good for these days. So, when I hear things like, a digital currency, I go, well, I'm okay. But then there's just like, no, you should be afraid of that. And I understand why you should be afraid of it. Why you should be afraid of it, but is that if you have a currency that's completely on lockdown by the government, and the kind of thing is saying that you try and buy some food if you owe tax. You try and buy some food if you have a utility bill that needs to be paid. And you kind of go, all right, well, all your money is going to be taken out and the management of your money is going to be completely given over to this government. Right, okay, I don't want that. I want that thing. But surely the internet has taught us that as soon as any kind of legislation comes in that, kind of restricts our control and freedom, some 14-year-old in the middle of somewhere in America or in the Middle East somewhere comes up with this. Oh, I've worked out how to get around that. You can download this thing and I catch you all the movies. And you go, right, okay.
Exactly,
or PlayStation, no one can ever crack this. We've successfully firstly come up with a thing. And then some 14-year-old did crack it.
Like if you look at how look, I kind of understand the way blockchain works, but I'm not an IT person. But like the banks, this is what they use now. Like blockchain was invented for coins, Bitcoin, Litecoin, all these kind of things. And then the banks saw this and like, Jesus, that's brilliant. Yeah. We'll use that. And then look, the banks are in bed with the government for sure, but like,
or the government is in bed with the banks.
There's a lot of money gets hidden when governments come looking for shit,
Yeah. And also money doesn't actually exist. It used to be that you had a piece of paper that represented the amount of gold somewhere else. And now it doesn't at all. We don't have a gold standard. Don't even have a silver standard. We have made up money. So much so that if you get a mortgage, the money you get for your mortgage, it literally existed. It didn't exist before the check is handed. Or whatever. Or before it's made a lodgement. And so if you have 10,000, 100,000 euro as a bank, you can loan whatever it is 5 times that amount. So
I think it's 8 or 10 even.
Whatever it is. So there's part of me that understands why people are worried, because I also, as I said, I don't particularly like change because I always think it's going to be bad. But I do like we have to not let things like this happen again. That sometimes means changing how we do things. But it's the scare. If you have a worldview of elites and they're out to get us, then you think every single change is them getting us.
Yeah, that's my problem with Ike in particular, is that he has this thing about the elites and how this will change and that will change. While I'm sitting here going, well, no, hold on now. Like we know this form of capitalism we're in doesn't work or is not working because the crashes are coming sooner. And okay, this one can be blamed on the pandemic, but there was another one forecast anyway. I've been watching, there's a couple of guys I do watch, even though I don't do any investing right now, but I watch them because their videos are very good, very educational. And they were saying, look, it's coming, move your money, know. And they've been saying it for about 3 to 4 months now. And yeah,
I love this thing of move your money. Where am I going to move from? This part of my wallet to the other part of my wallet?
No. You move
I know what you mean.
You're just moving into safer stuff. But anyway, so these things are occurring more and more and more, and it's just that, like, the system is sick, so it has to be changed, and that's good. And if it means one currency, cool. If that means that a loaf of bread in Ireland costs the same as a loaf of bread in Poland, I'm all for that. Do I don't really understand in the euro how something like a pint of beer in Ireland is like way more expensive than a pint of beer in Slovakia. Like, they have the same currency. Why are they different prices? It doesn't make sense when you just look at it like that
way.
As what it is, Which is like, it was supposed to be brought in as like a dollar, the American dollar, where like a beer in New York is the same as a beer in fucking LA. Well, I mean, more or less, or shopping wise, your groceries and stuff like that. Like, so I don't. Okay, this is going
See,
to
the
sound
thing-
weird.
yeah, right, go on.
This
Okay.
is going to sound weird coming from me. I
Okay.
do think that governments do want the best for the people. I
Oh
do
my
think
God!
that.
Oh my God! What's wrong with you?
I do.
How dare you?
I think. No, I do. I honestly, I know it's a bit romantic and it might be stupid, but I do think that countries want the best for their people, and that's the way it should be. So, like,
Yeah.
I don't see why, like, you sent me some email today that someone was making. They're being told to sell their Eurobonds and da-da-da-da-da. And then I looked up Eurobonds and I was like, this guy has no fucking idea what Eurobonds are, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like it's just. But I don't know how many times I've said it to you, Tommy. I just wish people would stop believing what they read and just look in. Like, it took me 30 seconds to Google the Eurobond thing, and I knew straight away this was complete
Rubbish.
cockamamie bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why didn't you Google that, man? Why didn't
Well,
you Google that
my
before you
kind
sent
of,
it off to your... No, not you. I mean, the guy who wrote it.
Oh no, I understand. Yeah.
Why didn't he Google it before he sent it off to his 20,000 subscribers? Because they're going to read that now and they're going to say, oh yeah, my eyes are open. And maybe, 3 or 4 of them would be like, this guy's a fucking retard. And I hope that they do.
Yeah, the kind of my trigger, not my trigger, what's the correct word? My kind of, when I stop believing is when you read stuff like it, it's like, I've been talking to people high in the government. High up in the
No,
government.
you haven't.
No, you haven't. I got an email during the week from someone who definitely isn't connected to anyone who said he was talking to people high up in the government. I was going, no, you weren't. I know you. I know the same people, you know.
It's like, I think I said to you, was it last week or the week before, about the soldier whose sister I know. And she had told us that the Polish army were moving in to lock everyone down. It's going to be curfew. And then the Polish president comes on, or prime minister comes on telly that night and says, whoa, that's not happening at all. That's the guy in the army thought this was happening, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's how bad these rumours and hearsay get. Like, he thought this was going to happen. He fucking works for them. The prime minister came on, did a live stream on Facebook and the news channel was like, no, whoa, no, we got this. Like, calm down, we're all right, you know? What's the fuck are the Polish army going to do anyway? You know?
Protect the toilet roll, man.
I don't know, but look, it's just the same thing. I like the fun of it and the conspiracy. Maybe something that I like about it as well is that it makes me try to find the holes in it. And say, oh, there's something, I don't like the sound of that, so put on my fucking investigator's hat. And if nope, got it. Yeah, wrong.
Yeah. That's why I always send you emails and stuff, and I go, right, so this sounds okay. I'll send this to Spud and see if it passes the Spud test. And you get, no, Tommy, no. Okay, I'll go looking again. I'll find
Try
the
harder. Maybe I'm a shill. Maybe I'm a shill, Tommy.
Maybe yeah, but it's not that you're just kind of dismissive. You go, no, and then there's like 6 paragraphs go, cause this is why it's ridiculous. And you go, yeah, but adrenochrome, blood of children, tortured children, Clinton, Hillary, no. Fear and Love in Las Vegas, no, you're not buying it, no.
I'm definitely going to be wrong one of these days, though. I hope it's not about fucking adrenochrome, though. Yeah. Christ. But I was telling you the other night, I was watching, when my mum's over, we always watch these Discovery investigates channels, you know, these ones that murder, they're always murders, you know. Yeah. And there was a really good one the other night about a nun who was murdered in a church in Boston, and she was like stabbed like 27 or 37 times, and it was horrific. And she was kind of old; she was in her 70s. And the 2 main suspects were the priests, and one was this big fat horrible fucker who was nasty to everyone, and obviously he didn't do it. It was the really nice. It was the really nice, quiet one who got past the first lie detector test because he was given some Valium because he found it very stressful. I mean, what? And they let him away. They're like, yeah, fine, yeah. And so a few years later, then they heard a rumor that this priest was involved, and then they came back. They exhumed the body. They re-examined the stab wounds and all, and they found that the stab wounds had been made in the an upside down crucifix on her body. And that he had actually laid a crucifix on her, turned it upside down, and then stabbed around it like he was tracing. Right?
Oh,
And I'm watching
man.
this going, Ma, how do we not know about this? How do we not know about the Catholic priest in Boston who killed a nun? And she, I have no idea. I've never heard of this before. And so I think it happened in the 70s or something. But he did it. He did it. And during his, there was a really cool scene in it where they showed some of the CCTV of his interview. From the cops from the second time around when they had him, he was screwed.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there and the cops just leave the room and it's still taping, and he said something along the lines, he kind of whispered to himself something like, please sister, please come back and tell them it wasn't only me and that it wasn't my fault.
What?
Yeah, and during the trial he just kind of sat there stony faced, like tight-lipped, and it looked like he knew fucking tons of shit, but wouldn't say. And it's like, now that's a fucking cool conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
Satanic churches murdering nuns, like that's the type of conspiracy that fucking gets my gears
What
going.
What year was it?
It would have been the 70s or early 80s. I don't remember.
So like it's Satanic Panic kind of era, like that.
Yeah, mad, fucking crazy stuff, like, you know. So look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you sent me a link and I said this would be a great TV show. And he goes, no, it is. And I go, but I actually meant like an episodic TV show, not like a documentary thing.
But what they did in it though, they didn't really focus enough on the kind of satanic stuff of it, because that's what the tip was from. The tip came from a girl who had been, I think it was part of a school as well. She had been in a school, and about 20 years later, she came back with all these during the big reveal in Boston of all the sexual crimes of the Catholic Church. And she said, yeah, I was molested by XYZ at this church. I also saw some satanic rituals. There was babies killed, da, 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 da. And it just says this. And then the next scene, they're knocking on the old priest's door in his new house. It's like, whoa. You just skipped over all the cool stuff. Go back to the satanic rituals here. What's going on here, you know?
It's because it's become so normalised. Oh yeah, Catholic priests killing babies. Yeah. We've heard it. We know it.
Yeah.
There's a well full of them in Ireland. Don't worry about it.
So that's what really clicked with me then, because when he whispered this thing kind of under his breath, that like there's way more people involved. And it's like, what? You know? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. And so you're going to do an investigation into it, or are you just going to...
Oh, I'm not. I don't want the fucking Catholic priests killing me. There's way more of them here than back home, man.
That's the other conspiracy, though, isn't it? That Italy's getting hit with this... the adrenochrome conspiracy is that it's only people who are shape-shifting lizards or the elite that are dying out of this. Which is why Italy's getting hit so much, because it's all, priests and Vatican people and the bankers and all this kind of stuff. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, though, that, when you have the what's crisis actor stuff, and you have all this people. That you just kind of go, that's...
False flags.
Entertainment thing is all well and good until the point that you're really fucking up people's lives. Like, to the fact that they had the sued, what's his face?
Alex Jones.
Yeah. And won, didn't they? It's like, and it's like, I don't know, like, the entertainment value is definitely not worth that. It's not worth, like, not only have you gone through something shitty, but you're also told you haven't gone through something like extremely shitty. And you're a bad person, So like if you're in Italy and it's just say for whatever reason, the mainstream news decides that this adrenochrome conspiracy is true. Not only have all these deaths happened, and your nan has died or whatever, we're also bad people now, according to you're kind of like that's unless it's true,
Unless it's true.
I don't mean that.
Yeah,
someone's nan has to be a bad person, like, you know what I mean? Not all nans are good. What are they called? Nonni, aren't they, in Italy? All nonnies are bad. That's a t-shirt.
There's no way. Like, it's just, I don't know. I think like these times they bring out the best and the worst in the people, though. Because I mean, like as well, there's something I've noticed that like the news channels were going through this thing of putting out videos of people on their balconies singing and all that kind of stuff, right? But then I was talking to someone and they were like, yeah, no, it's not like that at all. Like it's that is happening, but like it's complete. Like they were saying that like even like the weekend just gone, people are still meeting up and going and having house parties and stuff like that. And it's like, like we think the Irish are bad for like the couple of people going to parks and all, but they're like still as bad as it is there. they're still hanging out, and it's just like, just fucking stay at home for 2 weeks.
You can see
That's all
the
it is.
video
It's not
of the
that hard.
politicians screaming at people on the street, the Italian guys.
Italian
You cannot
mayors.
play table tennis. Go home.
And he's like,
You
who
are
are you?
not
I'm
Will
the mayor.
Smith.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right,
You're not Will Smith. This is not I Am Legend. Go home. That's like, yeah,
Oh, it's brilliant.
it's ridiculous.
But like, you know, you have to find humor. Well, we have to find humor in it, because
Yeah.
otherwise you just go mental. Like, if you're watching the news, I can't imagine what it must be like for people who are sat there glued to rolling news all day, because it'd just be petrified.
Yeah.
you
Like, at
know?
least Leo says, like, stop. You know, that Leo is or Taoiseach, who's like the equivalent of a, what is he, prime minister, or like, rather than a president, because we have a president who's a hobbit. Hobbit with dogs. But he, like, even he, in his kind of State of the Union address, was like, you know, get off fucking Twitter, please. Get off Facebook for at least a while. You know, don't be listening to, you know, basically your sister's cousin's mother's aunt, who definitely knew someone in the army whose mother's father's, you know, left banana said that the world was ending. Stop believing that. Stuff like, you know, but it's just, it's like, I was going to say it's like the craziest time I've been through, but it's probably not, because like, you kind of look back at something like Y2K. There was severe panic around that as well. Like, I know the actual countries didn't shut down, but people did think planes falling from sky, that the currency, you know, banks, you were going to lose all your money because the computer would stop working, all this. Like, there was definitely widespread panic and concern in during that apocalypse. True. Like,
even for 2012, there was people losing the shit over it, like getting ready for it.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure the world did end in 2012. I'm you will not convince me otherwise. It's been a Mandela effect ever since. But I mean, there's any number of apocalypses, I suppose, you've kind of semi-apocalypse we've lived through. Like 9/11 is a semi-apocalypse in many ways. Like, and I remember someone saying to me, I maybe said this in the podcast before, that after, you know, that week, goes, oh, this is it. The world will never be the same again, you know. And, you know, I was going, yeah, well, you know, he's going, oh, that's, you know, the hubris of youth. Oh, you know, and I go, no, well, mostly is, you know. I mean, you have to take your belt off the airport, and, you know, good, you know, there should be better security at airports than there was.
There is a thing though about, like, you know, you kind of have to. I think you have to turn your back or make up your own perspective on this. Like, don't, and then, you know, you're smart. Like, I can see from the people who are on your Discord, they're all smart and engaged people as well. They're all going to know this, but like you have to make up your own kind of interpretation for things, instead of just taking what you're spoon-fed from the news and the newspapers, and not in a conspiratorial way that, like, they're telling you what to think. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is just kind of like, to make up your own mind, and kind of, you know, if you bring it, you know, if you bring it to it, like what they say with the transurfing is that, like, okay, this is a pendulum. What do you do with pendulums? You either fight them, ignore them, or you use them to your own kind of benefit. And to use this to your own benefit, then you just take another perspective on it and say, right, you know what, I'm stuck at home with my family for 3 weeks. Sure, let's have some board games, and let's make some videos, and let's have fun. Let's go make fucking... It snowed like fuck yesterday. We went out for an hour in the yard and made snowmen, and I terrorised all of them with snowballs. And I at one stage, I even got the 2 kids locked in the little plastic shed house they have, and I was pelting them with fucking snowballs. Yeah! You know, and it was...
You know, traumatise your kids for 3 weeks, there's no problem.
Yeah, traumatise the kids for a few weeks, and make sure that when they're going to the psychologist that they will be going to in their teenage years, they'll actually have something to talk about. And I'll be getting my money's worth, because I'll have to fucking pay for it. They won't be paying for it. Fucking teenage leeches. No, but like... no, but really, the point is that, like, you do have to change your perspective and how you see things, because, like even when, like, you can even bring this to, like, your mental health issues. And I was saying this before, I think it was last week, no, 2 weeks ago. We were saying about how some problems that you have can lead you down the road to having, like, multiple personality disorders and stuff, because the brain doesn't like change. It wants to stay as it is, you know. and it hates change. But once you can change or learn how to change your perspective on stuff, life just opens up, and you're just like, wow, why was I thinking about this in a bad way? This is cool. Like, I have more time at home. I can learn to knit, or I can learn to bake bread, or I can whatever. I can take that Spanish course I wanted, or I can learn a bit of picture framing like what I do, or like just use the time productively, and especially if you're creative and you can do something with your hands, and or even if it's just spending 2 or 3 weeks and getting to know your kids a little bit better. It's not a bad thing. And so what if we're going to have one currency? And so what if we're all going to have no money, or the other conspiracies that we all might have a universal wage of $1,000? I'd fucking take that. Thank you. One currency and we all get money for nothing. Oh, damn you elites. You bad people.
And you're controlling.
So, and it's just, but it is very hard to teach yourself how to change your perspective and viewpoint on stuff. It's very, very hard to do that. But once you do figure it out, then you see the world totally differently, and you're just like, yeah, okay, sure, be all right. It's okay,
Yeah, well, that's the thing about people are kind of slowly realizing that, they're saying that, all of this kind of future that we thought and all this kind of stuff is that nothing's for certain, and it never was for certain anyway, and that all of this could go away at any minute, which, in one sense is quite scary, but another is so, liberating, because you go, all of this could go away, 24 hours, like, what a difference a day makes, 24 little hours, and how drastically, we know ourselves, like, when something mega bad happens, how different life is. But it also, like, things, we kind of, like I was saying earlier, my brain doesn't seem to like the idea or understand that change can also mean good things, and it can equally change in a positive way. And I think if we can kind of look at this time, as you were saying, to see it rather than, that we say tweets, I'm being forced to stay at home. Just, do stuff. Like 2 weeks ago, if someone said, you can stay at home for 3 weeks and not be in this shitty job, you would have went, yeah! But now you're like, boo, because I'm told I have to go home.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It'll be interesting to see how many books are actually written. When people go, oh, I would have written a book other than here, doing accountancy. You go, oh, I have time to write the book. Oh, you have no ideas. Don't really know how to write a book. Whatever. But think the amount of art that's going to come out of this if people just. But what'll probably come out of it is divorces and parents. Children not talking to their parents.
Yeah, my lawyer friend was we were joking with this on the Poland podcast. He's a lawyer, and he was like, we were joking that, like, after all this is over, there's going to be a whole load of people getting divorced, and he was laughing. Yeah, it's great for me because, like, on Tinder, it'll be full of single moms now, and I'll make money from the divorces.
So, like, he's heading into a golden age. It's all darkness in the future. So while you were talking about your Poland cast, tell me a bit about what you're doing, so that because I kind of know what you're doing, all that, but like I assume most people on the channel don't. And where they can find you, and what you are, other than the person who shouts at Tommy while doing.
So look, if you Google Atletico Spudland, you'll find me, or as well, the old website was the Comedy Cast. You'll find me there. What I'm trying to do over the next, while this thing is on, anyways, do like a 30-day challenge of putting out a video a day, but I'll probably just limit it to the 5 weekdays, because weekends I'm very busy at the moment. I'm taking helicopter lessons. I'm
writing that book. I told you.
So that's what I'm doing, and I'm just going to put out. It'll be different every day. It'll either be me talking and rambling or riffing on stuff, or else it's going to be me and a collection of different groups of mates. So hopefully tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll have the Poland podcast, which is a podcast we did years ago about being immigrants and living abroad and stuff. And there's that, and then there's another one with Seamus Kelly, who I used to have on the podcast. He's an Irish comedian, stand up, and yeah, it's just, and I'm gonna put out hopefully 5 a week, and it'll just be different stuff. But as well, I mean, I got the inspiration. I thought that it was one of my things on my list to do anyway. But then when I saw you doing it, I was like, okay, well, if Tommy can do it, then I can do it as well. It's grand.
Yeah.
Because my thing is, and I've said this to you before, is that my thing is that I put too much pressure on myself to be original all the time, and it's fucking impossible. So, and I should, and to put maybe a woo kind of spin on it, is just kind of think of it more like Alan Moore's ideas space. Just like once you start, they'll come. The ideas will come. Like, I'm not an idiot. Like, I'm smart enough to do this. So if I just think about what I want to do, it'll come to me and it'll be fine. And just kind of just let go of it and drop importance, as the trans surfers say.
But also, what if it doesn't? So what?
Exactly.
One day you just don't make a video. It's like, so what?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No one's going to be sitting there, oh, I wonder what Spud has to say today. No, and if you are, then I don't...
But if you are brilliant that you're doing something, you're like, great. Don't email me about it. I know I missed the video.
No, but come here. No, but like, I know that you, to turn it back on you, I know you took a step to change your perspective on this as well. Because I know that you were slagging off people about getting panicky and being too overboard on this and overstepping the mark on this. So you did a Grant Morrison thing, where you're like, you know what, the punk rock thing here is to be positive about it.
Yeah, it is, and it's because I'm not, and like, because I do an awful lot of, but this is it. It's like, because I do an awful lot of where I try to be more positive because I have a tendency to not be. So whereas if you look at my kind of feeds and stuff like that, they're always fairly positive, but that's not in an authentic way. That is the magic of it, is trying to, you know, rather than add to more panic or more hysteria, is to try and inject a bit of humor. There's a video that's coming out today, which is yesterday by the time this is out, and it's all about it's about positivity and how we don't allow ourselves to be positive as a society and in ourselves, but that at this time there's a good kind of place to, in a sense, to, you know, slip in a bit of positivity in under the door when no one's looking, you know, that kind of thing. And because the world is so hell-bent on fear, and that's how it's run in many ways, like media is fear, it's fear. It's you know, it's the Edward Bernays stuff that we've talked about before. There's a lot of control and all that. And this whole idea of, say, like privilege, where you're not allowed to be happy if there's someone who is unhappy in the world. Like, you're not allowed to, because that's seen as, oh, it's good, you know, oh, good for you kind of thing. And so there's kind of a shame element to being, sort of people then tend not to say happy things or positive things because they're immediately attacked for being happy. Like, oh, that's good for you, but look at the starving people over there. And you go, like, can I not just be happy here? No, because it's your fault now because there's starving people over there. You should have given your happiness to them. And you go, well, I'm a human being. No, and I understand that there's more to it than that, we should all be looking after the starving person over there and all that. But to constantly just negate the positivity of other people because the world isn't perfect isn't helping us. It's just adding more to the sum total of negativity. And this kind of thing that Grant Morrison, and it's from a long time ago, I think it's like mid-90s. I think it's like when he's doing The Invisibles, the original kind of run. He's talking about, is the best thing we can do is say that, you know, the future is cancelled and that we deserve it because we're kind of, you know, humans are shitty, you know, and it's like really, is that the best we can do? And turns it on its head, go that the most kind of taboo thing you can do, my word, not his, is to be positive and to be happy in a kind of fuck you sense. You know, like if you say I can't be happy, I'm going to be fucking happy, you know, and I'm going to, and not in a naive sense, not in a kind of like with a pendulum. It's not kind of in that you're meant to ignore pendulum. It's about not feeding the pendulum rather than ignoring the pendulum. You can be aware of the pendulum, but it's not adding more to it. Ignoring it is kind of pretending that that lump in your breast will go away if I just don't think about it, and then you think about it constantly every day. That's not what it is. It's don't feed the type of thing. And I think it's very hard to do that. So I think it's a worthwhile thing to do, is to, you know, sometimes things work out good. And if all I can do about the stuff that does work out good is worry about it, I'm not helping anyway. And it's only adding, if anything, it's exacerbating the situation. So I just think a kind of a punk rock, as he says, positivity as an act of rebellion or insurgency is a kind of it's an interesting approach, and it's a very magic approach, I think, to the current situation. For sure, it's all too easy to be hopeless. It's all too easy to go, because the other video I did recently where I was talking about because I was afraid of, you know, the future, I kind of, my creativity going to go, well, maybe I won't do the comic because, like, it's, oh, you know, what will the world look like when, you know, it comes out? Maybe I'll wait till the world settles down and see if it's worth putting this effort in. No, just do the fucking comic. Do your yoga.
Yeah, just do it.
You know, write your song, draw your picture, do the thing that you were going to do anyway. Because it was always uncertain. You're never guaranteed, which we've talked about before. Yeah. You're not guaranteed anything. And like you said it at the beginning of the episode, we could all be hit by a bus tomorrow, or the bus come up on the road. Come through us. Don't get away from these buses. Buses don't recognize social distancing.
Again, so what's the story then with what drove you to because you published something that I know now what sigils are, but you wrote or you published a binding sigil. So what's that all about?
Yeah, so it's basically in runes, which are like the old kind of Germanic, thing that we'd all be quite familiar with. They used to put things together, and they would call them bind runes, and it was the idea of kind of putting different energies together into one kind of form. So I goes, well, that's a pretty, thing I could do with the 47s, and I've talked about it before, and we've done different things around that. But I thought like a bind sigil, which is combining sigils that are of, I suppose, for whatever goal you want, that are kind of conducive towards that goal, that would work in harmony and synergy together, in the hope, well, that's what synergy means, that the connection of them together, or the power is greater than the sum of the smaller parts and all that thing. So it's three. It's the protector, it's the healer, and the sun from the 47s put together. And it's the protector, obviously, protection, the healer, obviously, healing, and the sun as an energy boost, and also as a way to light the way into the future in a very metaphorical sense of, rather than the future looking dark and unclear, it's just like kind of see that, the light at the end of the tunnel type kind of stuff. So I just thought it'd be a nice kind of encapsulation of that hope, or that concept, idea, or whatever these things are. And it's like, it's there on the site.
What then, what do you do with the sigil, and what do other people kind of do with it then?
Well, there's loads of things you can do with it. Like, it's the same what you could do with any sigil. I mean, I have it on my front door as a kind of a talisman, as a warding kind of symbol. I should have it on my front, or my office door. I do have a printed, just putting it up. You can carry it with you. I've drawn it in chalk on places, and I like chalk.
Have you? Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
I like chalk as a sigil activation, because I like public sigil things, but I also I like really good graffiti, but I don't like dirtying up places, and I like temporary stuff. So I don't want like spray paint it all. It looks terrible, I think. It looked good to me, but like, who wants a sigil on the wall and sprayed in terrible paint? But a chalk also, there seems something magical about chalk or whatever. In a book I was reading recently, it's by Tim Powers. It's the follow-up to Last Call, and I just can't remember the name, but whatever. But Edison is in it, and he does lots of magic with chalk. And I just go, chalk seems, there's something very kind of magical about it. Even in the kind of drawing the circle that we do in standard witchcraft, drawing the magic circles, done in chalk and stuff. So I just kind of like incorporating that. So drawing it in places, but I like the idea of sigils in public places, so people have to stumble across them. So I used to put them on like notes, what are those yellow pages?
Oh, the sticky notes,
sticky notes and draw, and then put coins on top of it, so people would definitely see it and pick up the coin. So when they pick up the coin, it was activating the sigil and stuff like that. And I know it's all kind of woo-woo, but it seems to work. So it's it's that idea of slipping something in under the door, injecting something into the matrix or into the world. But you can activate that sigil in any way you would activate any sigil. You can stare at it, you can meditate it, you can put it in your wallet, you can draw it in your hand, you can draw it on the wall, keep it on the door. Have a wank over it if that's if that's what you like doing, but or whatever it is. But it's like a symbol, words, representation of the idea, and I think intention is probably the most key thing in it. That it's, once you intend for it to be something, then that's what it is. Yeah. But also,
I think it's
your
really
doctor
cool
if
that,
you're sick. You know what I mean?
I think it's really cool that like you can make something that resonates with people all over the world, and they can all, like you just listed off 12, 15 different ways you can use this or activate it or whatever. Yeah. And they're all going to do that, and they might pass it to other people, and I think it's class. It's I suppose it is magic, but it's yeah, I just think it's cool that you can create something and it can go off into the world and be used in different ways by different people, and it just kind of has this kind of life of its own, and it comes from a place that isn't like, you're not selling it to anyone,
No, yeah.
and it just comes from a. You're very nice, Tommy. You're
Oh,
very
thank you very much.
nice. Right, this is
Yeah,
what
but I
I'm
think
trying to
it's
say
but
here.
it's like magic and art. It's I see it as the same thing, and art has exactly the same thing. Now I know there's an element of selling. Well, not anymore. I was going to say selling songs to actually sell songs, but a song is exactly like a sigil that goes around the world and has personal meaning, different meaning for everyone else who's into. You have your own attachment, your own kind of thing for it. And in a sense, when you write a song, and if you're lucky and it's successful and people like it, then it's no longer your song. And you hear so many songwriters saying that it's not my song anymore, that it's the people's song, and it sounds very trite, but I totally understand it. Like, it's gone, it's not yours. It's same as books, same as paintings, same as like any kind of art.
Do you know, I was thinking about this the other day. I think that I think movies. I hate that word. Films.
Films.
I think films. Films. FILIMS. That's how Irish people say it. Okay, deal with it. Films. A film. I was watching a film. I was watching a film. Right. So yeah, something came into. No, I know what it is, and it's this book that I have time to write now. And I was having this idea about it, and just kind of getting lost in the fantasy of what I'd love to happen with it and stuff. And then it kind of got me thinking about a couple of other things. That it seems to me that when something is filmed. That might be filmed. FILIMIMIM. Apostrophe D. No ED. Apostrophe D. I think that closes the circle on these sigils or on these hyper sigils, or it closes the thing. Because, for example, like, when Lord of the Rings was written, like, he came up with that idea at World War One. And that had a life. I think it died at the end of the Hobbit films, because it had such a lore or such an attraction, and it was kind of a thing that it was almost spoken about under your breath to other people, because you're
like in hushed tones.
Do you like Lord of the Rings? Yeah, I've read that, yeah. And you're like, yes, we have some awesome common ground. And if someone hadn't read it, you're like, it's like giving a mixtape to a girl and she likes it. You're like, and that kind of thing. And now, maybe it's just because I'm older, but I don't see that with people now. Like, Lord of the Rings had this thing, this pull, this energy, whatever you want to call it,
Oh, that has dissipated by it being produced as films.
And by it being filmed, and by someone else putting their stamp of, this is my vision of it. I think that's killed it. You know what I mean?
Well, it'd be interesting to see what the TV show now, because they're making a TV show of it now, how that will affect whether it'll bomb or whether it'll be something that we surge the energy or something. But I understand what you're saying, that there definitely seems to be, not necessarily maybe a death, but the end of a cycle anyway. Like, and probably, if you looked at the greater kind of timeline of Lord of the Rings, you could probably see smaller cycles.
Yeah, and I wonder, like have a think about it as well, because you'd know more than me. Like, like, so much of Alan Moore's stuff has been filmed. Like, has that been the end of stuff for him, or what?
Well, it definitely made V for Vendetta not his at all. Like, and certainly it's not, like, no one is thinking V for Vendetta and David Lloyd, who was as equal, who actually designed the mask. Yeah. Well, not really, like, because again, it's a Guy Fawkes mask, but in the context of what it is. But it's like that footage of Alan Moore going down to Times Square to meet, the people wearing the V for Vendetta masks, and like, that had to be weird as fuck. Like, this has nothing to do with me anymore. That's the servitor of V himself going off on his own journey and doing the old kind of thing. And again, that has to have an end point. Like, is anonymous, it's certainly the kind of, you don't see the anonymous mask as much. I know it still represents kind of a certain thing, but it has to have, but it might come back. It's like 30 years time, someone makes an updated version of V for Vendetta, giving out about this new, one currency, the draconian, the one Europe, the no borders, the whatever it is, the, Boris is still in power, Trump's still there, or whatever. And we need a V Vendetta for the new age, or we need a Lord of the Rings for the new age. But I do think there is something in the magic, in the hyper sigil thing, that needs, like, would the Invisibles have been a powerful hyper sigil for Grant Morrison if it wasn't getting published every month? If it wasn't being sent to an artist to draw it, who then sent it to DC, who printed it and give it to people? Like if he just wrote that and put it on his shelf, is it? What I don't think so. I think there's something involved in the production of it too, in the sense of when you say, oh, people put up sigils online, and some people go, oh, that's not how it works. I go, well, I think it does. You know, there's a kind of an element of it's now out there. It's away from me. It's like drawing it on a wall somewhere, or having it like on the post-it note, or putting it in a comic, or putting it in a film. That's it somewhere else.
It's kind of like the vision I get is kind of like you dip your paintbrush in some orange and then put it in the water, and it just let's see what happens.
The ripple. That's it. It's the ripple kind of thing out. That's on the principle of like, well, that's how magic is meant to work. So you have to decide yourself, does it work? But you can definitely, even if you don't think magic works in that way, you can definitely see how it's something within a pandemic, how one person can have such a huge influence on people. Like there's a video out and it's talking about the normal flu, you will infect 1.4 people. And you go, grand. So once that has gone 10 levels, there's 14 people. And you go, well, so you have now influenced, by, like say, not even a flu, but you've influenced 14 people who will influence other people, and it goes away. But it's interesting because you're saying, because the new one, you infect 3 people, each person, so by the time it gets to 10, it's 60,000 people or something you've infected. Like, it's ridiculous. But even that's not getting into the fear of all this thing, but that something I can do and say to you, and you can go, oh, right, okay, and you say it to Aga, who then says to 3 other people, and it just goes out like that. So even if it's just a thought, even if magic is nothing more than encapsulations of ideas, which is fucking awesome as it is, that's so magic, the way they just spread across the world and have their own kind of life and energy. Or it's like that idea on the Duncan Trussell podcast with Joe Rogan, which I know you watch some of it, but he has this big Joe Rogan stoner moment in the middle of it where he goes, man, maybe it's ideas that are the real kind of sentient being on this planet, and we're just we're just the carriers. So I was going, well done, Joe. Catch up on magic thought. Like you can read Alan Moore or whatever. But it's like as if he just discovered it. Go, no, that's what we've been saying for ages.
Yeah.
But it's lovely cool that when you hear other people say it. Like,
I think it's a lovely idea that they're all out there, and we just have to be in the right place at the right time, and we can put ourselves in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And
have you seen the Elizabeth Gilbert TED Talk?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Right, maybe, I'll send it to you and I'll put it in the link script. But that is the perfect kind of representative or encapsulation of this whole idea of idea space. She talks about Tom Waits in it, and the poet that I'm not going to remember, and a poet, female poet, wonderful poet, how they both kind of interact with this idea space. And there's one thing where Tom Waits is talking about, he's been driving down the street, whatever, and this song comes. He goes, "Fuck off, will you? I'm driving. Come back later when I'm ready for you."
I've heard that.
Mary Angelou is the poet, and she's talking about that sometimes she'll be running down, and the poem will come to her, but it'll come backwards, and she'll write it down, and then the whole thing is backwards, and then she has to put it round the other way for it to be. That's cool. Yeah. But that's the way it comes into her. It's brilliant. I'll send it to you. It's really, it'll get you really kind of. It's one of those things that get you going. But people don't like Elizabeth Gilbert because she's, I don't know, this kind of Oprah, new agey type thing. But she's I like her. I've read a couple of her books. It's very Oprah magic, which is fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like The Secret or.
Well, Julia Roberts plays her in the film of We Pray Love, so that's you're kind of talking about like that kind of.
I see. You had me. Stuff. You had me. Right, Tommy. Bye-bye.
Bye.